We've ended the heat spell here in the Northeast and are enjoying a bit of relief in central Pennsylvania. Christy joins me tonight with details on the lower humidity and the forecast for the coming days. Plus, when you think of bees or honey, weather isn't usually the first thing that comes to mind, but Tyler Jankoski reports from Connecticut with a buzzing story. All this plus nature in the news, trivia, and more, Whether or Not begins right now. Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Whether or Not. I'm your host, Travis Patterson.
And I'm your forecaster, Christy Shields.
Well, Christy, we saw a bit of relief this past Wednesday and Thursday. Temperatures only getting up to the 70s, even overnight, lows getting down into the 50s, which we haven't seen since the middle of June. Any more of that in the weekend forecast?
We will still continue the relief, however, temperatures are going to be on the rise. 81 degrees is the average temperature for the end of July, and that's the mark we're going to be around this week. Also, we won't see that hot and humid weather like we saw in the middle of the month.
All right, well, a good last weekend of July. Christy will have more details on the forecast coming up, but for now, let's turn to nature in the news.
We start tonight with a story nearly 900 million miles away from Earth. So far away, yet we have pictures. I'm talking about a photo taken by NASA using the Cassini spacecraft this past Friday. The spacecraft gave us a new perspective on our third rock from the sun, which we call home, a viewpoint through the solar system's eyes. It is also the first time that Cassini's camera has captured Earth and the moon as two separate objects, albeit only a pixel width apart. Normally, the sun's light blocks out Earth from that distance, but Cassini was just behind Saturn, allowing our tiny blue dot to be visible, a blip compared to the rings of Saturn. NASA actually coordinated the shot and advertised a photo op, asking people around the world to wave at Cassini while it took the picture. NASA said more than 20,000 people smiled and waved at the camera as it captured our tiny island of a planet.
Well, we may not be able to travel 900 million miles out to Saturn, but how about space-like travel from Los Angeles to New York in just 45 minutes to catch a Broadway show? The technology might be right around the corner. In fact, Elon Musk, an entrepreneur in electric cars and private spacecraft, wants to revolutionize travel with a fast transportation system called Hyperloop. It's basically a high-speed solar-powered transit system using tubes and capsule cars that whisk you away to your destination. The idea isn't all that new, yet a company based in Colorado has begun conception on an evacuated tube transport system, or ETT. The ETT uses two tubes, one for each direction, with car-sized containers that could transport about 6 people at speeds near 370 miles per hour. Musk got the idea when he heard about California's new high-speed rail project, which is actually slow compared to worldly high-speed rails, and the most expensive at $70 billion.
While you're trying to enjoy the last few weeks of summer, as school is right around the corner for most and fall activities begin, don't let insects and bugs ruin the fun. Pesky mosquitoes are running rampant in Florida. Fire ants attracted to electronics are causing blackouts in Texas and other Gulf states, and here in our area, eastern yellow jackets are somewhat aggressive. Steve Jacobs, an urban entomologist with Penn State University, says these wasps love any excuse to defend their nest and won't hesitate to come after you, though won't chase very far. If you do get stung, treat the area with ice and an antiseptic. According to the National Pest Management Association, more than 500,000 people seek medical treatment for insect stings each year. So next time you're out walking the many trails of central Pennsylvania, carry a bottle of bug spray, stick to the center of the trails, and it's just best to steer clear of anything with a buzz.
Yes, always good news to steer clear of anything with a buzz. In other news, however, ever notice the buzz and hum of light pollution in the dead of night from street lamps? It seems like a waste of money and energy to light up empty streets, and a Dutch designer is trying to change that. Chintan Shaw noticed Europe pays nearly $13 billion a year to power streetlights, which translates into 40 million tons of CO2 emissions, enough to power 20 million cars. Shaw's solution to cut back on waste and emission was to develop an intelligent, on-demand lighting system. The streetlights would light up only in the presence of a person, bicycle, or car, and remain dim the rest of the time. The technology he developed can also distinguish between people and smaller animals, such as cats and mice, so as not to light up unnecessarily. His lighting system has already been put up to use in Holland and Ireland, and believes it'll cut energy costs by about 80%. Now let's check in with Christy with the forecast.
Well, Travis, we do have some relief in this forecast for the end of July. Taking a look at Friday, we will have sunny skies here in State College because we'll be sitting between two low pressure systems. One is over here on the East Coast, and then we also have this one that will be needing to look to the west of us, and that will eventually bring us precipitation. And as you can see, it slowly gets closer on Saturday. We do have a chance of some storms on Saturday, but it will be later in the day, so definitely in the morning you can go out and enjoy boating or anything kind of activities outside on Saturday. Then Sunday, that front finally moves through the area. We will see some scattered storms, a higher chance of those storms to occur on Sunday. Taking a look at the humidity tracker, because here in July we've had some hot, muggy weather here, so it will be a lot drier. As you can see with the humidity tracker, the blue means pretty dry air, and as you can see, most of Pennsylvania is in this dry area. We will see some more humidity coming in on Saturday and Sunday due to the front passing through, and then that'll go out on Monday. So what are we expecting for the temperatures? 79 degrees on Friday with mostly sunny skies for our high, which is a little below the average here in July. 81 is our high, 62 degrees will be our low, and it will be clear and calm Friday night. Going into Saturday is when we do see the chance for more precipitation to occur. 82 degrees with a possible thunderstorm throughout the day, so it won't be a total washout on Saturday. Saturday night, that higher thunderstorm probability moves in, so there is a higher chance to see a thunderstorm Saturday night. A low will be dropping down to around 64 degrees. Then on Sunday, the chance of storms will be even greater, high around 77 degrees with scattered thunderstorms here in Center County. Next, Tyler is up with a buzzing feature.
This week I'm in Bristol, Connecticut to see how beekeeping is impacted by the weather. Boniface Jacobs is a local Latin teacher at the high school, but he also keeps honeybees on the side. Today we'll look at how those bees are impacted by weather.
Waiting for that. Come on.
Honey production takes hard work by both honeybees and beekeepers. Mr. Jacobs says early to mid-spring here in this portion of Connecticut provided good weather for honey production. High temperatures in April were close to average, and even though April precipitation was 2 inches below average, enough rain fell to make the clovers and other vegetation grow. The more sources for nectar, the easier it is for the honeybees to do their work. After all, flowers and other vegetation are a necessity since the bees are in search of nectar to bring back to the hive. On my visit to the beehives, temperatures were in the 90s and it was sunny. Perfect weather for the bees to be hard at work. Honeybees are most productive when it is hot and sunny, preferably over 90 degrees.
Like today is a great day to work with bees. 'Cause they like it warm, Humid, sunny.
And when it is hot and sunny, the bees are generally
So they didn't
less
have to build that
aggressive
comb.
than they are in cooler conditions.
By the way, if you feel a bee, run.
Even so, given that I wasn't in a protective suit, I still had to run
This is a
away
honey
from the
super.
hives several times while Mr.
And
Jacobs was inspecting the honey supers for weekly progress. Luckily,
see,
I
that's-
wasn't even stung once.
These are plastic
While
frames.
summer weather plays a
Right.
role in
Regret.
beekeeping,
They hate
so
the
does
plastic
winter
frames.
weather. The recent decade has seen massive bee die-offs across the country for reasons mostly unclear to the beekeeping community. But long, cold, and snowy winters do place added stress on the bees, which can lead to death.
I don't think a month goes by the last 5-10 years that some news outlets, Smithsonian, local station, national news, the death of bees in America, you know? Yeah. It's not uncommon. I mean, I've lost every hive I've had, up to 5 hives in a winter. There's a big beekeeper I know here. This past winter, of course, it was very long. And he had a terrible winter. He told a friend of mine, who then told me, he lost a tremendous amount of hives.
Penn State is one of the country's leading bee research facilities, and this coming August, the College of Agricultural Sciences will be hosting the second International Conference on Pollinator Biology, Health, and Policy. The conference will focus on the reasons thought to be behind the bee die-offs. Despite the devastating news coming from so many beekeepers, earlier this year, Mr. Jacobs was surprised to learn 2 of his hives from 2012 actually survived this past winter, even though it was long and snowy. He hadn't seen one of his own hives survive a winter in years, especially when he purchased bees from outside of New England. But this year, Mr. Jacobs' good luck coming out of this past winter may be attributed to the origin of the
But
honeybees.
these bees, I'm getting different bees now. I'm getting them from a Connecticut breeder rather than from a southern breeder. And not only did they survive the winter, 2 of my 3 hives survived, which I haven't had any hive survive in years.
So the next time you have a slight cough and you put honey in your tea, remember that it not only takes a lot of work to make honey, but the weather plays a factor. In Bristol, Connecticut, I'm Tyler Jankoski for Weather or Not.
It's time now to take one last look at the weekend forecast. Expect Friday to be mostly sunny with temperatures around 79 degrees. Saturday will have a chance of a storm. Sunday, that chance becomes greater, so expect the beginning of the weekend to be a lot nicer than the end of the weekend. 79, 82, and 77 are the temperatures, so they will be around average for this time of the end of the month of July. Lows will drop down into the lower to mid 60s for the weekend. And then taking a look at next week, we will start off sunny for the end of the month, and by Wednesday and Thursday there will be a chance of some precipitation moving into the region on those days. We should clear up again for the beginning of the following weekend for Friday, and expect temperatures to stay around average and less humidity than we have been seeing.
Well, Christy, it looks like the best days this weekend will be Friday and Saturday to enjoy some outdoor activities, even catch up on some boating in Lake Erie as the month ends.
Yes, it definitely would be a good time to go out on the lake in the boat because it won't be too muggy and those temperatures will be around average, so it won't be too bad outside.
That's right. Well, that actually segues into our Weather Whiz quiz, in which we asked you back at home, what is the average temperature of Lake Erie for the last full week of July? Is it A, 68 degrees, B, 73 degrees, C, 77 degrees, or D, 80 degrees? And the answer is B, 73 degrees.
Yes, and the average is 73 degrees. Right now we're actually sitting at the lake temperature around 77 degrees, so we are above average at this time. And how they take the temperature is at the Buffalo Water Treatment Plant in New York. and they take it at a depth of 30 feet.
That's right, but once you get closer to the shore and those shallow waters, the temperature could easily climb into the low 80s, so it starts to feel a little bit like bathtub water at this time of year. But that about wraps it up for this week's episode of Whether or Not. I'm your host, Travis Patterson.
And I'm your forecaster, Christy Shields. Have a nice week.